Hey guys, it's Sarah. It's Tuesday and I am coming at you with a Tuesday video. Lots of stuff I could be talking about this week, lots of stuff going on in the community and just up in my own head, but I am going to talk about the lovely Sarah Spoon, Norgan's video from last week, talking about redefining goal for yourself and what goal is. One of the main ideas of that video is the idea that goal is a feeling, it's not a number. Or it's not necessarily a number. And I think, a lot of people took it very literally, as in she was saying, like, it can't be a number. That's not what I got from it. But what I got from it was, you need to define for yourself what goal is. It doesn't have to just be a number. I saw a video earlier today where someone was talking about the idea that if your goal isn't a number, that you are just giving yourself permission to slack off, and that it's just to make it easier for you. And the only people who ever say goal isn't a number are the people who are struggling and who don't get to goal. That was pretty much the thrust behind it, and I have to say I don't agree with that at all. I think goal has to be something, goal is very personal, and it also is what makes the most sense to you. If you are a very analytical person, it may be very important to you to get to a specific number. If you aren't, then it may not be. I don't think one is right and one is wrong, and I don't think they need to be mutually exclusive. But I think if you don't at least consider the idea that goal can be something other than a number, that is a really dangerous mentality on this journey, because I think it's just setting yourself up for failure. If we look at statistics, when you talk about VSG specifically, most doctors will tell you VSG patients are successful if they lose 60% of their excess weight. 60%, not 100%. Many people never get to goal. That's the reality of weight loss surgery. And to be honest, I question whether or not that's actually a bad thing. Most doctors will tell you it's not a bad thing. If you don't get to goal, it doesn't suddenly mean that you have become a failure. There's a lot more involved in being a success when it comes to weight loss, or just life in general, than hitting a specific number. I think that, you can, those two things, goal is a feeling and goal is a number, don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can actually have both, but the key is to choose the one that makes the most sense to you. And I think we all kind of know, eventually you kind of know when you get there. There's been a lot of videos, hey, my alarm's going off. There's been a lot of videos made in response, so I don't want to just rehash what Sarah said, nor do I want to kind of rehash what everyone else said. Hopefully I can add in a few things, but I did want to comment on a couple of things that Sarah said in her video. She said it's important to look at why you had surgery when you consider what your goal is going to be. And I absolutely agree with that. I can tell you I did not have surgery to be a specific weight or a specific size. I had surgery because I was super morbidly obese and I didn't want to live that way anymore. That's why I had surgery. What's telling is, some of you who follow me regularly may know that I wrote myself a letter to read on my first year surgiversary when I was on the plane to Mexico. Nowhere in that letter did I mention a goal weight at all. What I talked about was how I wanted to feel, where I hoped I was going to be, that I would fit in both physically and socially into society, that I would be the kind of mother that I wanted to be to my children, the kind of wife I wanted my husband to have, the kind of friend that my friends deserved, that my weight wouldn't hold me back in my life, that it wouldn't be a part of my decision-making process. Those were my goals. And nowhere in my letter did it say, and I want to weigh 190 pounds. So when I look back and when I think about this, that's really telling to me. I didn't have a goal weight. My surgeon also didn't give me a goal weight. My surgeon does not do that. That's, he, I think, feels that is counterproductive, to be honest, because it's not about reaching a certain weight. It's about being healthy, and about being the best you that you can be, making the best decisions that you can. We often talk about the idea of being like fat skinny. Like, just because you've reached a goal weight where you are thin doesn't mean that you are healthy. Doesn't mean that you reach that weight in a healthy way. So judging weight loss surgery patients' success by whether they got to goal or not is kind of ridiculous, because there's so much more to it than just whether you got to your goal weight. And getting to your goal weight is no guarantee of not regaining. I think that's a myth too, that somehow if you get to your goal weight or below, that means you're not going to regain. That's just not true. Regain can happen to anyone. It's not just reserved for people who don't make it to goal. So, the other thing that Sarah talked about that actually I thought was even the more powerful statement, at least for me, was the idea of having complacency disease. That her disease wasn't just obesity, that it was complacency, and that her obesity was a symptom of that. That was really powerful to me, because I have spent a long, long time thinking about why I weighed 460 pounds. I know how I got to 460 pounds, but why did I allow myself to become 460 pounds? It's been 2 years probably that I've thought about that on an almost daily basis. I don't have an answer yet. I've never been able to pinpoint what it was, what was wrong with me, what was missing, what was broken. Physically, I know that there are, genetic and physical components, but, there's a point at which I was engaging in self-destructive behavior. There was a point at which I didn't care. I think Spoon called it in her video, one more drink on the Titanic or something like that. The ship's going down anyway, so who cares? I know that I got to that point where I just didn't care anymore. And I always have been complacent in a lot of areas of my life. In some areas, I'm very driven and very willing to make change. But in other areas, I'm afraid of change, and I don't necessarily like to move forward. I like things to be comfortable and nice. And I'm a bit of a hedonist, and I like pleasure. So anything that takes away from that, whether that's, change or not having something, anything that makes life difficult is something that I generally try and avoid. So I do think that, Sarah talked in her video about the fear of being selfish keeping you from being courageous. I don't know that was ever an issue for me, to be totally honest. I've always been this sounds bad, but I've been a fairly selfish person. I hope not in a negative way, but I grew up as an only child, and so I've always been able to focus on myself. But I think the fear of change and the fear of having to endure the possibility of failure and a lot of other things is what kept me from, living the best life I could and making the changes I needed to make and being successful. And I think I still have that problem, losing weight hasn't fixed that or changed it. But it has improved things, I think. So that was something I definitely need to, think on a bit more. And I hope one day to be able to come to you guys with a video that explains at least my feelings on why I feel like I reached the weight I did, because I feel like until I understand that, I'm not going to understand how not to get back to that place. Sorry, I have notes, because you know me, if I don't have them. I talk a lot about this journey as being a mental struggle. And for me, like I said, this is a struggle because I feel like I have these two sides of my personality. I am a very emotional person, but I'm also a very analytical person. And I feel like those two sides are constantly at war. And, I'm never sure what my goal should be, because from day to day I seem to change my mind as to whether I want my goal to be a number or I want my goal to be where I'm happy. I know I've said this before in videos, but if my goal was being happy with where I'm at weight-wise, being at a weight that I feel like I could be for the rest of my life, being happy with my weight loss, then I'm there. But am I 100% satisfied? No, because I set a specific goal, and there are, other issues as well. Like, I would like to be a certain size so that I could go into any store and buy clothing, or, I'd like to be a bit smaller for one reason or another. A lot of my issue has to do with excess skin. I think even if I had plastic surgery tomorrow, that would go a long way towards making me feel like I was, in a better place with my body, etc. But I don't think that calling goal or saying that you're at goal means that you're done. Like, although I think, goal and maintenance, weight loss and maintenance are two different things, I don't think goal has to necessarily be the transition between the two. I think you can be at your goal and still want to lose some weight. And I think you can be maintaining and still feel like you're not at your goal. So what worries me the most, actually, and hopefully this is something that I can add to this conversation, is more along the lines of why people feel that your goal has to be a number, or why you have to have a goal at all if you don't feel like that's the way you operate. I need to have a goal because I need the goal for motivation. And I think the farther out you get in your journey, your opinion changes a lot about what goal means, especially if you're still losing weight. I mean, I'm almost 17 months out and still in the weight loss phase. It's a little bit different. People who get to goal in 6 months may feel differently about this, but I think when you've been at it as long as I have, your feelings about goal change. And it's not because I feel like I can't get to goal. It's because I wonder what my goal is really based on. Is it based on society's view of what I should look like, or is it based on what's going to make me happy? I've talked about this before, but I have a Pinterest account and I have a board of curvy girl inspiration. And to be honest, a lot of the photos on that board, I am smaller than the women in those photos. I don't have the curves that those women do. I wish that I did. That's the way I wanted to look. I actually look smaller than I